If you're a man, you've probably heard it. Soy lowers testosterone. Sounds scary, right? But is it true? Today, let's untangle myth from mechanism. Slow, clear, step by step. So your brain can build a clean model. I'll ask questions you might ask yourself, and we'll test answers against real evidence. Ready? First question. What are we actually talking about when we say soy? Whole, minimally processed foods like tofu, tempeh, edamame, miso, or ultra-processed isolates hiding in bars and powders? Your brain loves categories. Keep these two buckets separate. Why? Because outcomes often follow form. Second question, what's the fear? Soy lowers men's testosterone. Translation, I'm worried about energy, muscle, libido, fertility, identity. Perfectly human. So, what does evidence say about testosterone when people eat typical amounts of soy? Meta-analyses, the king of evidence summaries, repeatedly show this. No meaningful drop in total or free testosterone at normal dietary intakes. Pause. Let that sink in. When we measure, the scary thing doesn't show up. But what about cancer? Some say soy protects the prostate. Others say it feeds it. Which is it? Think like a detective. Look at populations that actually eat soy regularly and watch what happens over time. Prospective cohorts often link fermented or minimally processed soy with lower prostate cancer risk. Mechanisms? Phytoestrogens like Genistein and Daidzein can act as selective modulators. Think of them as gentle dimmer switches, not on-off buttons. They nudge estrogen receptor beta, support anti-inflammatory pathways, and may slow unhelpful cell signaling. Not magic, just biochemistry in context. Let's dive deeper into what those meta-analyses actually included. When researchers pool multiple studies, sometimes 30, 40, 50 studies across different populations, patterns emerge. Studies measured men consuming soy foods, or isoflavones, in amounts ranging from 20 to 80 milligrams per day. That's roughly 1 to 3 servings of tofu, or a few servings of tempeh. What did they find? No statistically significant change in total or free testosterone. The hormone cascade stayed intact. There are isolated cases where extreme doses, hundreds of milligrams of isolated isoflavone extracts, showed minor shifts, but that's not food. That's pharmacology. Most meta-analyses included randomized controlled trials, the gold standard. Some lasted weeks, others months. Duration matters because if soy were going to suppress hormones, time would reveal it. But even long-term trials showed stability. The evidence is remarkably consistent. Dozens of studies. This isn't edge case data. It's mainstream nutritional science. Context matters more than single nutrients. If your day is high stress, low sleep, low movement, ultra-processed diet, no single food will save the system. But in a low-inflammation lifestyle, soy can play a supportive role. Picture a mixing console: movement, sleep, nutrition, stress mastery. All sliders affect the final sound. Soy is one slider. Quality and dose decide whether it harmonizes or adds noise. Let's build the model across your whole health, the 9 interconnected dimensions, because your biology doesn't live in silos. General health. Inflammation is the quiet accelerant behind many diseases. Whole food patterns, fiber, polyphenols, diverse plants, turn the inflammatory dial down over time. Fermented soy contributes isoflavones that can help guide signaling toward a calmer baseline. Not a pill, a pattern. Exercise and movement. Think of movement as oiling the hinges. It improves insulin sensitivity, keeps inflammatory tone down, and stabilizes body composition. Eat soy within a week that includes real movement, and your metabolism hears a clearer message. The result isn't just protein in, it's protein used for maintenance and repair. Nutrition. Forms and dose decide. Tempeh, tofu, edamame, miso, simple, minimally processed. Traditional patterns use small to moderate servings spread across the week. Ultra-processed isolates, different story. Also, your gut microbes are co-authors. Some people convert Daidzein to Equol. This can modify effects. Fiber-rich meals help that team effort. Here's what you might not know. Fermentation changes the game. Tempeh and Miso undergo bacterial transformation. The microbes break down phytic acid. That's the mineral-binding compound people sometimes worry about. Fermentation also creates bioactive peptides with potential health benefits. Traditional cultures didn't just eat soy, they fermented it. That pattern shows up in research. Fermented forms often link to better outcomes than unfermented tofu. Not that tofu is bad, it's just that tempeh and miso bring extra layers. Protein quality matters too. Soy is a complete protein, all essential amino acids present. But bioavailability can vary. Fermentation improves digestibility. That's why your gut feels different after tempeh versus raw soybeans. Your body uses what it can absorb. High-quality soy protein supports muscle protein synthesis comparably to other complete proteins when total daily protein is adequate. The key is adequacy. Hit your protein target across the day, and soy contributes its part. Omega-6 concerns? Soybeans contain linoleic acid, which is omega-6. But here's context. The ratio matters more than absolute amounts. Most Western diets are already high in omega-6 from processed oils. Adding whole soy foods in moderation doesn't tip an already imbalanced scale. If your baseline is good, you're eating fish, walnuts, reducing processed oils. Soy's omega-6 contribution is manageable. The inflammatory risk from isolated omega-6 oils is different from whole food omega-6 within a balanced pattern. Fitness and performance. Can you maintain muscle with soy in the mix? Yes, if your total daily protein and essential amino acids are adequate. Combine soy with other plant proteins across the day to cover your amino acid bases. Recovery is a 24-hour story, not a single meal plot twist. Aging. Longevity patterns tend to look plant-forward, fiber-rich, minimally processed. Moderate soy shows up in populations with better metabolic markers, calmer lipids, steadier glucose. Less friction for your cells tends to mean better aging curves. Problem solving. Start with your goal. Is it heart health, prostate risk reduction, stable energy, performance? Choose form, fermented versus minimally processed. Choose dose, small to moderate. Choose rhythm, 3 to 7 servings per week, depending on your plan. Pair with movement, sleep, stress tools. Track simple markers: waist, weight trend, energy, digestion, lipids, fasting, glucose. Adjust. Your biology is iterative, mind and spirit. Stress chemistry talks to sex hormones. High chronic stress scrambles signals. Calm the system. Breathwork, nature, boundaries, and nutrition works better. Simple truth. A regulated nervous system makes good dietary choices stick. Frequencies and energy. Daily light rhythms, sleep timing, meal timing. These shape endocrine patterns. Morning light anchors your clock. Consistent sleep supports testosterone rhythms. Eating windows that match your day reduce metabolic noise. Your hormones like rhythm, spirituality, values simplify decisions. If stewardship resonates, choosing whole food forms and skipping ultra-processed options becomes easy. Less debate, more alignment. Now, the hard question. Are there cases where soy isn't wise? If you have a hormone-sensitive cancer history or ongoing treatment, your context is unique. The data on phytoestrogens are encouraging in many scenarios, but medicine is personal. Bring your medical team into the loop. Use evidence and your history together. What about thyroid concerns? Another common question. Soy contains Goitrogens, compounds that can interfere with thyroid function in theory. But here's what research shows. In people with adequate iodine intake, soy foods don't cause problems. Why? Iodine is the limiting factor. When iodine is sufficient, goitrogens don't matter. When iodine is deficient, goitrogens can contribute to issues. The solution isn't avoiding soy. It's ensuring adequate iodine. Sea vegetables, fish, iodized salt, or an iodine supplement if your diet lacks these. For most people eating a varied diet, this isn't a concern. But if you have hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's, work with your doctor. Some people find spacing soy away from thyroid medication helpful, not because soy is inherently problematic, but to ensure medication absorption isn't affected. Practical optimization, not fear. Autoimmune concerns? Some people with autoimmune conditions report feeling better reducing certain foods. Soy can be one of them, but it's not universal. Some thrive on fermented soy. This is where personalization matters. If you have an autoimmune condition, track your response. Try eliminating soy for 4 to 6 weeks, then reintroduce and observe. Your biology will tell you what works. Kidney function? If your kidneys are healthy, soy protein doesn't cause problems. Old research suggesting high protein could stress kidneys has been debunked for healthy individuals. If you have existing kidney disease, your medical team guides protein needs. For healthy kidneys, soy protein is perfectly safe. Let's squeeze the myths. Soy lowers testosterone. At typical intakes, meta-analyses say, no. We measured, it didn't. Phytoestrogens act like real estrogen. Not quite. They're gentler, often modulatory, with context-dependent effects. Dose, form, microbiome, overall diet, these decide the direction. All soy is equal. Not even close. Tempeh does not equal ultra-processed isolate. Your outcomes follow your choices. What about the prostate? In several cohorts, more fermented/minimally processed soy correlates with better outcomes. Mechanisms make biological sense. Receptor modulation, lower inflammation, saner cell signaling. Not a guarantee, an edge. Let's get specific about prostate research. Large cohorts tracking thousands of men show that those eating more soy, particularly fermented forms, had lower rates of advanced prostate cancer. Another study found prostate cancer patients consuming more soy isoflavones had slower PSA progression. What's the mechanism? Genistein, one of those phytoestrogens, appears to inhibit enzymes that prostate cancer cells use for growth and modulates cell cycle regulators. These aren't theoretical mechanisms. They show up in studies. ER-beta is key here. Estrogen receptor beta. That's the receptor phytoestrogens favor. ER-beta acts differently than ER-alpha. It's more about calming, anti-proliferation, anti-inflammation. Prostate tissue has high ER-beta expression. When phytoestrogens activate ER-beta, they push toward a calmer, less aggressive cellular state. This is selective modulation in action. Research suggests this ER-beta activation contributes to prostate protection. Inflammation is the accelerant for many cancers. Chronic inflammation creates an environment where cells are more likely to mutate and less likely to repair properly. Phytoestrogens reduce inflammatory signaling through multiple pathways. They inhibit NF-kappa B. That's a major inflammation driver. They reduce oxidative stress. They support antioxidant enzyme systems. This isn't just about the prostate. It's about reducing the inflammatory load that affects multiple systems. When inflammation is lower, everything works better. Hormone production, cell repair, metabolic efficiency, longevity markers improve. A simple, practical plan you can test. Pick forms: tempeh, tofu, edamame, miso. Keep it simple. Keep it whole. Pick frequency: 3 to 7 moderate servings per week, adjusted to your total protein target. Pair with plants, fiber and polyphenols, vegetables, legumes, nuts, seeds, to support the microbiome. Pair with movement. Train your metabolism to use what you eat. Track a handful of signals: energy, digestion, body composition, lipids, fasting glucose/insulin, or A1C. Adjust based on your real life, not someone's headline. Let's make this actionable with specific examples. A serving might be half a cup of cooked tempeh, 3 ounces of firm tofu, a cup of shelled edamame, or a tablespoon of miso paste. That's roughly 15 to 20 grams of protein and 20 to 40 milligrams of isoflavones. Spread these across your week. Maybe tempeh on Monday, edamame as a snack Wednesday, tofu in a stir-fry Friday, miso in soup Sunday. This gives you variety, spreads the isoflavone load, and keeps meals interesting. How to shop. Read labels. Look for fermented when possible. Tempeh should list soybeans and a culture starter. No added sugars or fillers. Tofu should be simple. Water, soybeans, coagulant, miso paste. Choose traditional varieties. Edamame. Frozen shelled edamame is convenient and retains quality. Cooking tips. Tempeh benefits from steaming before other cooking methods. This removes bitterness. Then marinate and bake or pan fry. Tofu needs pressing if you want it firm. Wrap in towels. Add weight. Wait 30 minutes. Or buy pre-pressed varieties. Marinate tofu for flavor. Edamame, steam or boil briefly. Miso, never boil it directly. Add it at the end, off heat, to preserve beneficial bacteria and flavors. The microbiome angle. About 30 to 50% of people can produce Equol from Daidzein. Equol producers might get more prostate benefit. You can't force it. It depends on your gut bacteria. But you can support your microbiome. Fiber-rich diet, diverse plant foods, fermented foods, prebiotics. A healthy microbiome increases your chances. Focus on microbiome health overall, and Equol production improves as a side effect. What to avoid? Giant, isolated doses of isoflavone supplements that don't resemble food. Ultra-processed soy fragments as a staple. Expecting soy to fix a high-stress, low-sleep, no-movement lifestyle. Systems, not silver bullets. One last mental model. Imagine a mixing board again. When soy is whole, moderate, and part of a rhythmic, low-inflammation life, it blends into a clean sound, steady hormones, calmer metabolism, better long-term odds. When soy is isolated, exaggerated, and dropped into a noisy life, you won't love the audio. Food is music. Context is the room. Common questions. What about soy sauce? Traditional soy sauce is fine in moderation. Textured vegetable protein? That's ultra-processed soy isolate, different category. Soy milk? Depends on processing. Some are just soybeans and water. Fine. Others are loaded with sugar. Less ideal. Read labels. Soy protein powder? Again, isolate territory. Convenience protein, not whole food benefits. The Asian context matters. Traditional Asian diets include soy regularly, often daily. Populations with long-term soy consumption show lower rates of prostate cancer, breast cancer, and other hormone-sensitive cancers. This isn't just genetics. When Asian populations migrate and adopt Western diets, cancer rates shift. The diet matters. But here's nuance. Traditional Asian soy consumption is typically fermented or minimally processed, part of a pattern that includes vegetables, fish, rice, tea, minimal processed foods. They're not eating soy isolates and protein bars. They're eating miso soup, tempeh, tofu in whole food contexts. This is pattern eating, not supplement territory. What about children? Research on soy in children is more limited, but what exists is reassuring. Children consuming moderate soy as part of a varied diet don't show hormone disruption. Asian children grow up with soy regularly, and their development is normal. For kids, as with adults, quality and context matter. Whole foods, not isolates, part of a balanced diet. But if you have specific concerns about children and hormones, pediatric nutrition guidance is wise. Consult a professional who understands developmental nutrition. Timing matters too. Some people ask, should I time soy around workouts? Not necessary. Your body processes soy protein over hours. Meal timing for general health, that matters. But specifically timing soy to workouts? Research doesn't show an advantage. Eat soy when it fits your schedule and appetite. If you want tofu in your post-workout meal, fine. If you prefer tempeh at dinner, fine. The pattern matters more than precise timing for most people. Athletes with specific performance goals might optimize timing, but that's personal optimization territory, not soy-specific. Final practical note: start slow if soy is new to you. Your digestive system needs to adapt to the fiber and oligosaccharides in soy. Some people experience gas or bloating initially. That's normal adaptation. Start with small portions, maybe half a serving, and build up. Cook tempeh well initially. It's easier to digest when thoroughly cooked. Your gut bacteria will adapt. Give it 2 to 3 weeks. If discomfort persists beyond that, soy might not fit your system, and that's okay. Not everyone tolerates every food. But don't assume intolerance from one rough experience. Adaptation takes time. Let's address some deeper concerns I hear. What about estrogen dominance? This is a common fear. The theory goes, phytoestrogens add to your estrogen load, tipping you into dominance. Here's what we know. Phytoestrogens are so much weaker than endogenous estrogen, about 1,000th the potency, that adding typical dietary amounts doesn't meaningfully increase estrogenic activity. In fact, selective modulation often means competitive binding. Phytoestrogens can occupy receptors that stronger estrogens would use, creating a net calming effect. This is why research shows soy doesn't increase breast cancer risk, and may even reduce it in some contexts. The estrogen dominance fear assumes additive effects, but biology doesn't work that simply. Modulation is nuanced. What about GMO soy? Most soy grown in the US is genetically modified. If you prefer non-GMO, choose organic. Organic certification requires non-GMO. Many tempeh and tofu brands offer organic versions. You have choices. This is preference territory, not health necessity. What if I'm already eating a lot of soy? Traditional Asian populations consuming soy daily for generations show excellent health outcomes. The key is whole food forms, not isolates. If you're eating varied whole soy foods as part of a balanced diet, you're likely fine. If you're consuming multiple soy protein shakes plus processed soy products daily, you might simplify. But too much for whole foods is usually much higher than people assume. Does cooking destroy isoflavones? Heat does reduce isoflavone content. Some studies show 15 to 30% reduction. But cooking improves digestibility and nutrient availability. The isoflavones you lose, you might gain back in better absorption. The bottom line, don't avoid cooking soy. Cook it properly for digestibility and safety. You'll still get plenty of benefits. Can I combine soy with other plant proteins? Absolutely. Combining plant proteins improves amino acid profiles. Soy plus legumes, quinoa, nuts, or seeds all work. The old complete protein concern has been largely debunked. As long as you're eating varied plant foods across the day, you'll hit your amino acid needs. What about interactions with medications? Soy can interact with certain medications. Blood thinners like warfarin. Soy contains vitamin K. Thyroid medications. Some people benefit from spacing soy away from medication timing. Hormone therapies. Your medical team needs to know. Always disclose your diet to healthcare providers. Most interactions are manageable with simple adjustments. How do I know if soy is working for me? Track stable or improved energy, solid digestion after adaptation, maintained muscle mass if training, stable mood. Not so good signs: persistent digestive distress after adaptation, worsening energy. But remember, correlation isn't causation. Test systematically. Remove soy for a month. Reintroduce. Observe. What if I just don't like soy? That's valid. You don't need soy to be healthy. There are plenty of other protein sources. If you genuinely dislike it after trying different forms and preparations, don't force it. But give fermented forms a fair try. Tempeh marinated and baked bears little resemblance to plain tofu. Sometimes preparation makes the difference. If after honest experimentation you still don't enjoy it, move on. Patterns matter more than single foods. Where does this fit in longevity? Research on blue zones shows most include plant proteins regularly. Okinawa includes fermented soy. But they also walk daily, have strong social connections, manage stress well. Soy alone won't create longevity. But as part of a longevity pattern, plant-forward, minimally processed, moderate portions, soy fits. It's one tool in a toolkit. Not the whole toolkit, but a useful, evidence-backed tool when quality and context align. Key takeaways you can remember without notes. At normal intakes, soy doesn't lower men's testosterone. Fermented/minimally processed soy often aligns with better prostate outcomes in population data. Quality, dose, timing, and lifestyle context decide the difference between noise and harmony. Personalization beats ideology. Track, learn, iterate. Important medical disclaimer. The information provided in this content is for educational and informational purposes only. It is based on scientific research, expert knowledge, and holistic health principles gathered from various sources. However, this information does not constitute medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, cannot replace professional medical consultation, should not be used as a substitute for qualified healthcare, may not be appropriate for your specific health condition. Critical requirements. Always consult with qualified healthcare professionals before making health decisions. Seek immediate medical attention for urgent health concerns. Discuss any health changes or new symptoms with your doctor. Ensure any supplements or lifestyle changes are appropriate for your individual situation. Consider your personal medical history, current medications, and health status. Limitation of liability. The authors and publishers of this content assume no responsibility for any adverse effects or consequences resulting from the use of any information, suggestions, or procedures described herein. Individual results may vary, and health outcomes depend on numerous factors beyond the scope of this content. Professional medical care. This content encourages and emphasizes the importance of maintaining regular contact with qualified healthcare providers for proper medical care, diagnosis, and treatment of any health conditions.